Story 1. The Sound in the Stacks. I was cramming for finals and stayed late in our college library. It was one of those old ones with narrow shelves and barely any lighting in the back. I went to find a book near the history section, way in the corner where barely anyone goes. As I was checking the shelves, I started hearing this soft tapping sound, like someone tapping their nails on wood. I thought it was maybe another student, but when I looked around, there was no one else in the aisle. The tapping stopped for a second, then started again, closer this time. I didn't even bother finding the book anymore. I just turned to leave, but as I passed the end of the aisle, I caught something move in the corner of my eye, like a head ducking behind the shelf. I rushed back to my table and packed my stuff. The librarian at the front asked why I was leaving so fast. I didn't answer. The weird thing is, I went back the next week, and that whole back section was roped off. When I asked why, someone said a piece of the floor back there had caved in. I don't know what was tapping, but I still think it was something trying to get my attention. Story 2. The Reading Room. My school had this locked-off reading room in the library. Nobody used it anymore, and it was always dark inside. One day I noticed the door was slightly open. I don't know why, but I decided to peek inside. It was dusty and full of old chairs, shelves, and forgotten books. I stepped in just for a second, but the second I did, the door closed behind me. I turned around and tried the knob. It was locked. I stood there in silence, trying not to panic. Then I heard a whisper from the far side of the room. I couldn't tell what it said, but it sounded like someone repeating the same thing over and over. I backed up to the door, banging on it. After what felt like forever, it just opened on its own. I left without looking back. The next day, the door was shut again and chained from the outside. I never mentioned it to anyone. But sometimes, when I pass by that part of the library, I swear I hear something on the other side. Story 3. The Book That Wasn't There. I was working on a paper and needed a really specific book. I checked online, and it said the library had it, but it wasn't where it was supposed to be on the shelf. I kept looking and noticed a copy sticking out from behind some books on a random row. I pulled it out, and it was the exact one I needed. As I opened it, I noticed it had writing inside, stuff that wasn't printed. It looked like someone had scribbled notes all over the margins, but they weren't normal notes. They were weird drawings, symbols, and dates, and every single date was in the future, like things that hadn't happened yet. I flipped through more pages, and one of the dates matched that day. It just said, "You found it." I dropped the book and left it there. When I went back the next day, the book was gone. I asked the librarian about it, and she said they never had that title. Still don't know what I read or who put it there, but I've never looked for a book in the library the same way since. Story 4. The Basement Level. I had a part-time job shelving books in the school library. One shift, I got assigned to organize some old boxes in the basement level, which was usually off limits. It looked like a storage area, dim lights, stacks of boxes, and broken furniture. I started sorting through the boxes when I noticed a single chair facing the corner of the room. It creeped me out a bit, but I ignored it. As I was working, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, but there was no one, just the chair. I kept working faster, and then I heard a loud, dragging sound. That chair had moved. It was turned halfway, like someone had sat in it and shifted. I dropped what I was doing and went back upstairs. I told my manager I couldn't work down there again. He looked confused and said, "No one's supposed to go down there. The lights haven't worked for years." But I know what I saw, and that chair wasn't empty the whole time. Story 5. The Face in the Study Room. There's a small study room in the back of the public library that's made of glass. You can see inside it from the main area, but once you're in there, it feels isolated. I booked it one afternoon to finish an assignment. After a while, I started feeling off, like I wasn't alone. I looked up and saw someone walk past the glass outside. They stopped at the door for a second, just standing there. I blinked and they were gone. I thought I was just tired, but then I looked up at the glass in front of me and saw a reflection. Not mine. It was a face, pale, wide-eyed, and just hovering behind me. I turned around so fast I knocked my chair over, but there was nothing there. I left the room, went straight to the desk, and canceled my booking. I never used that study room again. To this day, I still don't know whose face that was. But I know it wasn't mine.